What's up, Internet? You're tuned into episode 144 of Nintendo Noise, Slipscreen Games' weekly Nintendo podcast. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined today by my very good friends and co-hosts, Miss Sierra Plus Ultra.
Hello.
And Mr. Max Wright.
Bing, bing, wahoo.
I forgot.
I'm sticking with that.
You're still trying that out.
I gotta say, I like it, you know?
I didn't prepare anything. Again, I didn't prepare anything, so here we are.
I'm with it, and I think it's appropriate because, you know, of course, we're here to talk about the Nintendo Direct that just happened a few hours ago today as of recording. One we've been looking forward to, I mean, all year, right? But for quite some time at this point. And there was definitely no shortage of Mario stuff. So every time there's a Mario announcement, Max, can you just hit me with your bing bing wahoo?
Absolutely.
Great.
You mean during this whole thing?
Yeah,
sure.
just whenever Mario comes up.
Okay, cool, fun.
Cool, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for being a staunch professional.
Absolutely.
So I want to just jump right into it because given the fact that this has been such a long time since a big Nintendo Direct, this one was packed. It was 40 minutes.
Have we had one this year?
I think actually, I don't think we've had one at all this year, have we?
Because there's always the January Direct that never happened. Then I'm not sure if the February Direct then never happened. I can't remember if anything.
I feel like Thousand Year Door got announced this year, though.
Oh,
No?
do you know what? You might be right.
Was that at a Direct?
I feel like that was in a Direct because it was like at the end and no one was expecting it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's fact check though. Let's you always gotta.
I'm on it.
Double check.
Thank you.
Because I was gonna say I did think we got an Indie World earlier this year, but it's been a minute since we've had one of the like big 40-minute anchored by a big announcement on both sides type deal. But maybe the Thousand Year Door one is our last one. But I mean, shoot, I can't remember, which speaks volumes to how long felt.
We are just bombarded by a slew of information every day, every week, every month. What is even when anymore?
What is when?
What is when?
Don't know why I'm really struggling with this, but I think there was one in March because Unicorn Overload was announced there. The Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection was announced there. Kingdom Come Deliverance, Pepper Grinder was in it. Yeah, I remember this now. They showed off another Crab's Treasure, and I remember thinking that looks trash because I was currently playing it. So March was the last Direct. Back to our regularly scheduled program.
Back to our regularly scheduled Nintendo Direct reactions. So I want to go through the run of show, and I think we'll just do what we've been doing during Summer Game Fest, where when there's an announcement one of us wants to talk about, we'll pull over and we'll chat for a minute before we get back on the road here. So I want to talk about the game that kicked things off with. This was Mario and Luigi Brothership.
Bing, bing, wahoo.
Thank you, Max. So this is the first new game in the Mario and Luigi franchise in almost 10 years. It's been 9 years since the last one, and it looks really good. I mean, I thought this was a really strong way to start things off. Cool to see this franchise come back, and what they showed us looked really enticing.
Originally, I originally thought maybe this was like, you know how Mario Wonder had a new art style to it. I wondered if they were doing the same with 3D Mario. They were going to go for like a new art style. And then I think it took me a little while to go, oh no, this actually does remind me a little bit of the old Game Boy Advance Mario and Luigi games. I think there's probably one on the DS
First
as well.
one was at Game Boy Advance, yeah.
Yes, okay, yeah. I thought this looked cool, and I think I like all of the minute-to-minute stuff, and I'm not a big fan of turn-based stuff, but there's some interesting things here. My big takeaway from the end of this, I don't know if this is the same for the other Mario and Luigi games, this could be another IP with that they've put Mario in it. Like all the other characters, all of the side characters, all of like the world they're in doesn't feel very Mario, and I don't know if that's just a staple of the franchise or whatever, but what do you think as someone who's probably played them?
So I have not played all of them, but I know that the ones that I've played usually had more of like a Mushroom Kingdom kind of angle.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, I know that there was like a little bit of like lore that they were kind of showing us, like what the plot is, and it seems like when Luigi falls down this hole or whatever, that they're ending up in some other kingdom, and that like they're trying to work their way back to the Mushroom Kingdom. So I'm guessing that's why it looks so like off or like unique in that way. But yeah, when I first saw this, I did initially clock that it was the Mario and Luigi art style, but I was thinking it was a remake until a couple minutes into it and was like, oh, none of this looks familiar at all.
Because we've had a few of that recently where they've done, we've had 1,000 Year Door, we've had whatever the other one was they did.
Mario RPG last year.
That's the one, yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be a remake of the first Game Boy Advance one or whatever. So it's interesting to see that, even though we are towards the end of the Switch, they're still pushing out new Mario games. Cool.
November 7th, too, is great. It's like...
quick.
The back half of this year is kind of a little... like we haven't known what was coming or what we were going to be playing until the release of the new console. Mm-hmm. So nice to have something to look forward to that's so imminent too.
Yeah, it reminds me of when Metroid Dread was announced, and it was like, it's coming out in October, and I was like, oh, we didn't even know it existed properly, and now it's coming in October. I think this is the sweet spot for Nintendo announcements, I think, is
same thing
it's
with Wonder,
out by the end
right?
of the year.
Like Wonder and RPG were similar, where it was like, by the time they announced it, and they were out within like 6 months or whatever.
Yeah, cool. That's the way I think it should be done. They've learned their lesson, clearly.
What do you think about this one, Sierra? I know you're a big turn-based person like I am. How'd this one strike you?
I'm not like I'm big on turn-based. I like never play the other Mario and Luigi games. This is gonna be the kind of game that's like, if I have the bandwidth by some divine miracle when this drops to play it, I will. But it's honestly probably a skip for me. But what stood out to me about the art style was very reminiscent of Hi-Fi Rush. And then later on in the direct, just a quick reference. With that cel-shaded 3D style. I noticed like Looney Tunes game also is going to have that art style.
That game was like the most PS2 ass looking. And no shade, but like I was like, this so looks like a PS2 GameCube Xbox title.
It's like when you run a DS game at like 1080p.
Yeah.
I can see what you mean about Half-Life Rush, because there's a lot of like electricity in the trailer here. There's a lot of all the characters are sort of like electricity with like plugs and stuff on them, so that does kind of have like that sort of vibe of Half-Life Rush.
Yeah, even just the thick outline.
The thick outlines, and like everybody's got kind of like a glow on them a little bit. Like, yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah, it's weird. It was weird to see, but I appreciate when Nintendo switches it up. I had laughed to myself when the trailer started because people always do this before directs air, but someone tweeted like, if there's a Mario and Luigi announcement tomorrow, I will draw everyone who likes this tweet's profile picture. And I'm thinking about that person very much.
busy night for them, I think.
Yeah, this was definitely a nice surprise. This was a franchise that I didn't necessarily think we'd see come back, and if we did, I thought it would be remakes and more like remember this isms rather than trying to do something new, and especially like them having a couple popular big Mario RPG releases in the last few years that have shown that there's a hunger for that. Cool to see a new game. We'll see. So then next up, we got a deep dive on Nintendo World Championships NES Edition. This was something that, we got this one announced a while ago, but I don't think there's been an opportunity for them to talk about it at length aside from the reveal. So
do you know what I think
a better
happened?
Idea of what the game actually is.
I think it leaked, and that's why we got it early, because I think that the trailer we got here doesn't cover anything new. It's just, here's the game, and they said it in a way as if to say, we're announcing it, and then they sort of had the collector's edition at the end. I think that collector's edition image, or the sort of the game leaked, and therefore we got the announcement early to sort of cover that up, maybe.
That makes sense.
And that's why we're getting it here in like not like a, here's an update on it, here's some new stuff, in just a very matter of fact, this game is coming out, and here is the sort of collector's edition. But this looks like not my kind of thing, but yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's one that I have a ton of interest in myself. I just, I think it's like an interesting idea, but for like a full price box title, I don't know that that's what I'm looking for.
For collectors, that gold cartridge I think is going to do a lot, and people that sort of really care about the Nintendo heritage. I can see that. Yeah,
it's very, very, very cool package for sure. I thought about buying it just for like the stuff more than the game itself. So cool package for sure.
And they highlighted the speedrunning mode first, which was interesting.
I guess that's the whole game. Is like the challenge is like doing speedrunning challenges. Like that's
the championship
that I got from it.
Yeah, I think if it's like the old what the hell is it called? I'm looking at the title right now and I can't. The Nintendo World Championships,
right?
Where before it was just like, oh, in this way you level, you have to. It was like, I remember the very first one. It was the first time anyone had ever touched or seen Super Mario Bros. 3, and they were like, you have to get to the end of the first level in Super Mario Bros. 3, and whoever gets to the end of that wins first. So they are very much like mini challenges inside of games, and they've just taken that to put that into a game with a load of other NES games in there. It seems cool for people that like NES remix and stuff like that, or people that have nostalgia for these kind of games. But it also seems like the kind of thing that would be included in Nintendo Switch Online as well, like a 99 style of game as opposed to a full packaged thing.
Yeah, or again, like if it was like a $40 title or something, like if they were like, this is like a fun budget party game, like I think that would hit a little bit differently for me, but not to say that it doesn't look like it could be fun, but I don't know that I'm like the target person.
Same.
Yeah.
So then we got to look at Fairy Tail 2, which is an RTS based on the Fairy Tail anime. Sierra, you're our anime. Do you care about Fairy Tail?
Nar.
All right,
I don't watch this one.
Next up, we got Fantasian Neo Dimension. This is a new IP from Final Fantasy creator Hironobu Sakaguchi. And then it's also got music from one of the longtime composers that he's collaborated with. So pretty cool. Basically, it's a turn-based RPG by the creator of Final Fantasy. I think that's the headline. But what they showed us was, you are going to take on an evil man, god.
Oh no! What a
he
novel!
Wants to take over the world. Yeah, that's how
novel
JRPGs
approach.
work. So we're gonna.
But I like some of the designs of this. I like some of the character designs, the weapon designs. It sort of feels like Nier, a bit Kingdom Heartsy with the cool weapon designs and stuff like that. I liked the
little bit
not that a big
like
term,
steampunky kind of Final Fantasy aesthetic.
Yes, as someone who's not into turn-based RPGs, that whole positioning of the enemies, you can like curve your bullets like in Wanted kind of thing. I appreciate that. But I swear I think it's for me.
I'm very interested in that as a mechanic because I think when it comes to like I am a big turn-based guy, right? And I like a novel gimmick if it's good. And that's always like the difference I think between a gimmick and like a novel gameplay mechanic is that like, is this an idea that's a fun idea, but then in practice it doesn't really have that many, applications that are interesting? Is it a lot of the same kind of thing? That's, I guess, my question looking at this is that seems like a cool idea of like there being this element of like positioning and like you have that mechanic where you can like skip a battle and like put them in this like phantom zone that you then do these like big board clear battles. Like that sounds cool.
That seems satisfying.
I could definitely see that being a satisfying mechanic, but I think it's gonna ultimately come down to how far you can stretch that mechanic in different ways to not have every battle just feel kind of like I'm lining up a line and doing curves. Like, that's all.
I guess
it
the
is,
different
then.
attacks might have different things. There, you might have attacks that sort of zigzag or
That's what I'm
spiral
interested in
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, because otherwise, you just have one mechanic and then you have that whole mechanic. If it's going to be like a big style adventure, it could be interesting.
It's definitely one that caught my attention, right? Like it checked enough boxes for me that I want to pay attention to it. I think it's one of those things where if it comes together and it that mechanic is as deep as you suggest, Max, then I think it could be very interesting. And if not, still a cool thing to get a new IP from such a legendary creator. So I'm sure a lot of people will kick the tires on it just for that reason alone. Didn't get a hard date, but apparently it's coming this holiday. So that's one to think about. Nintendo Switch Sports is getting a free update where you can play basketball, which is cool. I kind of thought that the updates for this game were done. So
yeah. This is so random. And it's just basketball.
It's like very out of nowhere.
You couldn't throw in one more sport. They're like, we're adding basketball.
I was thinking this would be an Olympics update. For the Olympics this year. Is it this year, the Olympics?
Yeah, they're in like a couple months.
So we've got the Olympics this year. There's no Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games so far that we've seen. Probably because the last one's still relevant, I guess, because it's anyway, I don't think... I thought this was going to be like an Olympics thing of like, here's some Olympic events you can do and get involved and get in the spirit of things. But no, it's just basketball. Cool,
just
fine.
basketball.
All right. Free though, so that's good.
It's my favorite
court
sport.
with
I
your
the way they
friends.
dribble up and down the court,
I'm dribbling right now, so...
All right, next up, we got a look at a very, very pretty looking indie game. It's called Mio Memories in Orbit. Looked like it was a Metroidvania style, action game with like a watercolor kind of like painted aesthetic for all the backgrounds and stuff. Very pretty.
Yeah.
Very pretty.
Definitely some max nonsense. It feels like there is like a lot of, the combat looks good. There's like challenges, platforming challenges that remind me a lot of like, I guess Hollow Knight is a big example. But also Prince of Persia, the new one that came out, where there's a lot of like, spike-based puzzles to avoid and things like that. I like the look of this. I'm really interested in this.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is a Hollow Knight thing too, where there's like a dash attack where like you're attacking through them to get to the other side, like platforming and stuff. Very cool looking, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's weird that this is in a Nintendo Direct and not an indie stream. Like, I'm not sure who's developing or publishing this, but like to have got this in the full June Direct.
That was my question. Was like, who made this?
Caliber.
Like, is this
Who's
like from a
Focus
notable
Entertainment?
indie creator, and that's why it's on the main stage, or did they just want to have a cool looking indie game?
Oh, it's the same publishers as Space Marine 2.
Okay, interesting.
Bolt Gun, Chance of Sonar. So they've got some stuff behind them. The new John Carpenter game, new Aliens game. So it's a pretty sizable publisher, I guess. But yeah, I wonder why this game specifically made it into the Direct. Cool though. I'm looking forward to it.
Maybe
it's just one that stood out to me.
Replacement,
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, a load
really
of cash knocking around.
Not really a better place to advertise your new indie game than like at an Nintendo
Absolutely.
Direct.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. They got a new update to like kind of some quick hits here. We got a new update to Disney Illusion Island. That's that like Disney Metroidvania that came out like a year ago. Hello Kitty Island Adventure, which is very much looking like Sanrio Animal Crossing.
Yup. And I'm going to be first in line.
Yeah.
We're not skipping over this one. We're talking about this one. Cool.
Go for it.
This is like this is a mobile game, right? Am I right in saying that?
I think currently it's only available on mobile.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not playing on mobile. Like, and also, like, I really wanted to see what they were going to do for the Switch. I'm really satisfied with how the game is looking. And I think, like, Animal Crossing players, we are going to be eating. Like, it looks so good. It's, I think, like, it just scratches that itch of, like, starting over on a new island for people. Like, and it's, like, beloved Sanrio characters. Like,
it's like a perfect match for this kind of game.
It really is. And, like, I wonder what will happen if this does well. Like, is this going to open the floodgates for more, like, even more Animal Crossing likes from beloved IP? I don't know. But...
Disney Starlight Valley like a year ago or whatever, right?
Oh yeah, because that's also killing it. Yeah, I have friends who still actively play and like
I hear a lot
explain
of people talk about that game.
Yeah, I just
same.
If I'm gonna invest time, I mean, like I'm not gonna say I don't have time. I don't have time, but I do. It's like one of those. You have ADHD. You know how it is, Pete.
Yeah, no, I get it. I have time, but I'm not really very in control of that time.
I'm at the whimsy of my subconscious. Yeah, it's just like the character customization is really cute. Like, I'm a huge Akatsuko fan, so I was very happy to see that she's like definitely in the game. There's also just some other things like the minecart.
Oh wait, that
whatever
was
the hell that was. Yeah.
I didn't catch it. That's really funny. I was just like, oh, it's just there must be an angry tiger character. That's funny.
Oh yeah. That's Akatsuko. But yeah, like I just feel like even if it's a game that I only get like 40 hours of and I'm done with it, like it'll feel good to start something new.
Totally.
Like a new life sim game.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. Well, we'll have to report back when that one comes out. We didn't get a date on that one, which I thought was interesting considering it is like already playable on mobile. I figured if they were going to announce console, they would like give us the date, but apparently it's coming to Switch first. We're going to get like timed exclusive on Switch, and then it'll come to PlayStation and Xbox as well later on.
The Master Race, baby. Nintendo Master Race.
So then next up, we got to look at Looney Tunes Wacky World of Sports. This was that one that I said has that. It's a real PS2 ass looking game.
Yeah.
Affectionately, I mean that in a good way. Kind of my one disappointment with this, honestly, was like when they first showed it, I was like, oh shit, Space Jam game. And then it was like, all these
That's
other
what
games.
I thought as
Like,
well.
just do basketball. Just focus on one, you know?
Yeah, I was watching this trailer and my only sort of major thought was like, do you reckon the people that are working on this are like passionate about this? Do you reckon they're like, oh, I am so glad to be working on the Looney Tunes, and like people that are working on it are like, oh, these graphics are the best we could possibly do, or is this just like we have a contract to fill, we're doing it? Like, what do you think about this?
I think it's probably. I mean, I'm sure there are people there that genuinely care about the Looney Tunes, but this doesn't look like.
Yeah.
I'll say this: it doesn't, to me, serve something like Marvel's Spider-Man, or like the Indiana Jones game, where it's very much like. We love this IP and we've been studying it for 10 years. Like, it's like, no, it kind of seems like someone was like, what if we made a sports title and we slapped the Looney Tunes on it?
Yep.
But who knows? Maybe it'll be better than we're giving it credit for, right?
Yeah. I'll never find out because I'm never going to look up this game again.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not going to say it's not for me because, like, I grew up with these characters, but, like, I don't need another sports game. They just added basketball to Nintendo Switch Sports.
You would have such limited time.
With my ADHD, I can play 2 sports games.
Oh, no. We only have room in the brain for one. There's 4 cavities in the brain, and there's only one space for sports.
Exactly. So then we got a free update coming to Among Us, which is going to be tomorrow. By the time you're listening to this, it should already be out, probably. Actually, no, because I'm putting this out today. So by tomorrow, it'll be up. And there's a new update to Among Us that brings some new imposter types and crewmate rules as well. So there's like a tracker, which you can like plant trackers on people. There's like a ghost imposter that can turn invisible. Obviously, Among Us, a big deal. Still trucking along. Cool for Nintendo to get the announcement here. So, this next game is an interesting one. This next game's called Farmagia, or Farmagia.
Christ.
And it's a farming game where you build a big army of monsters and then battle those monsters. And on its face, that sounds like my jam, but honestly, I could not get over the name of this title. I was like texting a couple friends like as we were watching it together like live, and someone was like, I don't know about that name. That kind of sounds like a slur, doesn't it? And I was like, yeah, that sounds like what they would have called my grandfather when he moved to America if he like tried to start a farm.
I was thinking it sounded like a pasta dish, personally.
Yeah, like a cheese.
Yeah. Farmagia.
Yeah, delicious chicken farmagia, yeah.
Little chicken farm.
I think this game looks like a combination of the Monster Rancher game I played as a kid and the Digimon World game I played as a kid, but like sure. Those games looked in PS1 era. Like, this just doesn't do anything. Like when you're planting in the field and it's literally just a grid and you're just in a square field in a grid planting things. I was like, they could have done something to make this more interesting, surely. Happy to be proven wrong. This doesn't seem like my kind of thing.
You don't want to collect battle pals?
No, I do. I actually, if you go back to an old episode of the Fanatics 4 podcast where we had to come up with an indie game in the style of Cadence of Hyrule, like you combine a classic Nintendo franchise with an indie game, I said Stardew Valley Pikmin, where you grow the Pikmin and then you take them out with you. Oh, that seems like exactly this. I just hate everything it looks like. I hate what it looks like.
I don't like how it looks.
I feel like if Frankenstein outsourced his thing and then was like, oh, what have I created through by proxy? That's what I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Coming out on November 1st.
Not to shit on your parade, Pete. Not to shit on your parade, because I know this. You said this seems like your kind of thing.
Oh, but, no. I'm with you. I don't. That's
good. Okay.
I think in theory it sounds like my kind of thing. Mm-hmm. In execution, it doesn't look very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to be negative Nancy about it, but I don't know. So then, this one disappointed me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, originally released on the Wii, then ported to the 3DS. Did it come to Wii U or no? Just 3DS?
No. It was only on 3DS. Okay. Yeah, Tropical Freeze was the one on the Wii U because I was like, oh, how do I play Donkey Kong Country Returns? And I just couldn't until this year. Funnily enough, the 1 year I decided to actually fucking play it gets announced for the Switch. But anyway,
2025, January 16th. this is cool. I don't mean to like shit on this announcement. It's just a bummer because we've heard rumors for so long that they're working on a new Donkey Kong title, and I was so like, yes, great, like let's finally see something, and it's for it to be a re-release of a game that's already been re-released within the last 10 years is it's great for the people that haven't played it, which is probably many of us, and it's a bummer that it's not something new.
So it took me all of about 4 seconds to recognise that the music was the original sort of, because the original music's sort of more like downbeat, and then the new one sort of like, whereas I noticed quite quickly what this was, and then when the little tiki guys punched out of the you can say tiki, right? Yeah, punched out of the
you're okay.
The house, I was like, cool, okay, I've played this game this year, which is good. It's a great game. I really enjoyed it. I played it on the Steam Deck. And because I thought this is never coming out anywhere else, and I really, really enjoyed it. 100%ed it. I thought like you can really see what Retro were how they sort of started, and then how they built on that with Tropical Freeze. It's just I've played it this year, so great for everyone else that hasn't. If you enjoy Tropical Freeze, you will enjoy this. Maybe not to the same degree, but good game.
Very nice.
I love that even like the voiceover was like, see, look, he's doing all the Donkey Kong things you know and love. It's the same. it's what you would have gotten. It's like, no.
It's definitely not worse.
Why would you need a new game? We already
Why
have
would
this
you need
one.
he's doing the Donkey Kong stuff.
You said, as soon as you said that, I'm immediately envisioning like SNES era, right? Like them having like some like Donkey Kong commercial where he does a dance to the DK raps, like do the Donkey Kong.
Oh yeah. I've been doing the Donkey Kong from the waist down this whole time. You just haven't been able to see it.
Naked, in a tie.
Can I just see that I've just there is a tie. I have just seen a tweet. Jeff Grubb tweeted, Farmagia is an unhinged name for a video game. A reply to that from Dom's playing, it sounds like it's hurling an insult at my Italian ancestors.
That's what I'm saying!
That is the exact conversation we just had.
Italian people. It's not good. It's not
I'm on your
name.
side. I'm on your side, man. I'm sorry. I wasn't there with you, but now I am. Now I've seen somebody else say it, all of a sudden I care. But you're right.
Legions of Italian Americans over there. Like, hey, whoa! Paisano, what's
Tough
going
guy.
All right, so next up, we got a look at Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. They did this in a very, they confused the shit out of me, but basically what happened was they revealed Dragon Quest III is getting this treatment, and then also Dragon Quest 1 and 2 are getting this treatment, but they're coming out in reverse order because 3 is a prequel to 1 and 2. So they're releasing them in in-universe chronological order. So 3 will come out first, then 1 and 2 will come out later.
Yeah.
Yes. This confused me too until he said, chronologically, this comes first. And I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I am so glad that Square Enix has realised, or, when they first put out 2D HD, HD 2D, wherever it is, with Octopath Traveler, they were like, oh, actually, this is a good thing. This is a very good thing.
It just looks nice.
Yeah, and it just adds legs to so many back catalogue games.
It's very Octopath Traveler coded to me.
Yes,
the tilt shift design.
Totally.
Yeah, I think Square Enix are onto a winner. I think they probably patented this, I would assume, which is why they keep saying HD2D, HD2D, because it's probably their thing. And I'm glad they're doing more of them, even if they're not for me. None of them are for me, but I love pixel art. I think pixel art is a format that we will eventually lose, and I think that's a shame. So I'm glad to see that they're reviving it and giving it new life with, making it more modern. So very cool.
Yeah, I thought this was a cool announcement. Dragon Quest is a franchise it's a gap for me. Like, I've played a few of them, but I've not really played many of them, particularly not the classics. So, definitely one I'll consider for sure. November's a little stacked right now for me. I feel like the fall is not the best time for me to jump into a decades-old RPG, but we'll see.
I'm in the same boat. I'm very interested, but it's going to be one of those, if I got the time, then I'll dive in.
I'd love to. I hope I do. I hope I get around to it.
Yeah.
Next up, talk about ugly games. Funko Fusion is
oh my god,
a action-adventure game where you're playing as Funko Pops from all different universes, fighting enemies from all different universes. It's coming to Nintendo Switch on September 13th. I had two initial thoughts when I saw this. One, why is it so ugly? And two, this game feels like about 5 years too late.
Yeah, can I quickly go off?
Yeah,
about
please.
So Funko Pops to me are the epitome of just bland consumerism. They are soulless. They are a cash grab. They are, here's one thing, and we're going to change the way it looks, and we're going to charge you that price for them, and you're going to have a wall of them, and we're going to have hundreds of the same thing, right? That's how I feel about Funko Pops. That's my personal opinion. This game feels like the epitome of everything Funko Pops are, but now it's in video game form. It's just like, oh, we've put a little bit of effort into these. Oh, it's everything you know and love, but not done very well, and there's not really much care and attention to it, but you love it, so you're going to pay for it, and that's what this feels like. It's like, here's a little snippet from a movie you like, or it's a character you like from a movie, it's a dinosaur, blah, 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 because they happen to own the rights to the licenses to those models. And I think this looks horrendous. I shouldn't be getting this, like, agitated over a video game, but it's just Funko Pops upset me, man, and this video game upsets me by being attached to Funko Pops. I'm sorry for any Funko Pop collectors out there, but I don't care, so...
That's why I'm like tight-lipped on this, because I am
no
strong feelings, but there's people who might listen to me on this podcast that would not appreciate that.
You're on my side. You're on my side of this.
Oh, yes. Oh my
good, okay.
God, yes.
I thought I'd offended you.
Oh my
Good.
God. Like, I don't have anything nice to say. And I don't have anything nice to say in a way that, like, it might strike the wrong chord with someone who really loves Funko Pops, so I'm just gonna shut my mouth. But Max, I'm with you.
I think, like, regardless of your feelings about them as, like, a collectible, I've always been very, very, like, it's very weird to me that they've tried to extend that brand beyond selling toys. When they're like, here's Funko Pop, here's the Gears of War Funko Pop game, here's the Gears of War action shooter. They had those, like, they were selling, like cards or something at some point. Who the fuck knows? I don't know.
They want to be Lego
Cards.
so badly. They're trying so desperately to be Lego. Of like, hey, you like Funko Pops? You have a nostalgia to that. It's like the way that some companies, I'm not gonna specifically mention them, but like some companies are like, oh, they sort of
like oversaturate.
Yeah, but in a way that it's like, you remember this from your childhood, and therefore I'm going to sell you this product. But it's the way that they put it forward is like, we're cultural. We're a part of the culture. I guess sort of like Disney or Star Wars and things like that. I'm not going to specify any one of them. And Funko Pops has sort of tried to force that early.
I just think it's nuts because it's like, they've been around for so long. It's not like it's a thing, right? Like, they're like a fucking thing. It's like, why are you not just content to be a thing? It's like, you gotta like continue to and like every extension beyond that is worse than the initial product, which is already controversial for its quality. It's wild, but whatever. I don't know who is ever gonna play this game. That's my question. But whatever. Yeah, looks terrible, truly. Next up is Luigi's Mansion 2, June 27th, right around the corner. Oh, we don't got to talk more about this game. It's a re-release of an old game. It's out in 2 weeks. It looks great. I hope we'll all play it. Okay, this next one, the new Denpa Men. Are the Denpa Men a thing?
I've never heard of it.
I'm like, who are these guys?
I had to pause, take a deep breath, and say to myself, video games are for children too, Max. Just move on, let it wash over you like a fine mist. And then it made me think back about all the things I thought about the previous games and thought, okay, maybe it's not all for me. And that's fine. That's fine. That's okay. But what the fuck is this?
Oh, man. This is like a franchise.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, so
Japanese
I looked it up.
or...
There's a game called The Denpa Men. They came by Wave, which was a game that came out in the Nintendo 3DS eShop in 2012. So
it's been like 12 years since the last Denpa Men, and now they're like, time for that hit classic Denpa Men to come back. You know the Denpa Men.
Okay,
you remember the Denpa Men were back.
You love the Denpa Men.
Here's another fun thing. This game was already released on mobile in 2017, and then was shut down in 2019, and then now it's coming back on Switch.
Probably for a good reason.
now
We're gonna try one more time.
And now the entire
back
trilogy
better than ever.
is no longer purchasable because it was only on the 3DS eShop. So I don't.
Where's that? Who's paying for that? Where's that money coming
Trying
from?
to bring
Who's
back the
like
Denpa
funding
Man.
that?
Show me the market research.
Yeah. Denpa Corp have like had an influx of cash, and they're like, I know what we should do.
So I don't know if either of you were ever Futurama people, but when I was watching this, immediately my mind went to there's the episode they do where it's like the Willy Wonka parody, and they have like the Oompa Loompa guys, and the professor's like, tell them I hate them, and that's exactly how I feel about the Denpa men. Tell the Denpa men.
It does seem like the kind of thing that when we were kids, you would put a quarter, I don't know, in a thing, you twist the thing, out comes a little plastic toy, you open that thing, and then there's one of 20 Denpa men, and it's like, collect them all, and you hang them from your backpack, and all your friends have Denpa men, and you swap the ones. That's what the Denpa men sort of feels like. Gacha is the word I'm looking for, but I'm not Japanese, so that's what this feels like to me. But
There
yeah.
you go. Next up, we got to look at Metal Slug Reloaded. This is a tower defense game set in the Metal Slug universe that's coming to Nintendo Switch tomorrow. It's pretty cool. You don't get a lot of tower defense games anymore. I was actually thinking about that as a genre not that long ago. I was like, that was like a big thing in the early like Flash days, and I feel like you don't really see it too much anymore. Can be fun. I wouldn't mind a good tower defense game. Next up, we got Darkest Dungeon 2. This is a roguelike turn-based RPG. It's coming out on July 15th, right around the corner. If you've never played the original Darkest Dungeon, it's really good. It's very novel. If you're into roguelites, dungeon crawlers, and like turn-based combat, I think it's definitely a game worth checking out. The sequel's been on my radar for a while. It's been in development for a long time.
This has come right quite quickly because the 1.0 didn't launch until like, I want to say April this year, like only a few months ago, and now it's already out on the Switch. That's impressive. Like that's good timing for a 1.0 release.
I think they did a good job of like not overhyping it. Of like when they talked about it, it was like very sporadically. So you're always like, hey, like we're still here, we're still doing this. It's not like we're leaving you hanging, but you know now like when they really started talking about it, it was imminent, which is cool. You don't end up with like obviously not as popular, but you don't end up with like a Hollow Knight situation where it's like every time there's an event, you're like, are we going to fucking hear something? Are we going to hear? It's like, they've done a good job, I think, of like setting expectations. And now that it's ready, Great. The whole like car or like carriage mechanic is very different and kind of interesting. I'm interested to see how that's going to play out because the original was very much a dungeon crawler. And this kind of feels very different in like its cadence of how you progress. But the combat all looks the same. And that was the thing I thought was the coolest. So check that one out. We're going to get into the rest of these in just a second here, but before we do that, let me remind you that this episode of Nintendo Noise is brought to you by our Patreon producers for the month of June. They are, of course, Arnold J. Rimmer, Christopher Valenz, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, a.k.a. Sobi, Snackago, Steve Stompy, Susan Likes Cats and Also Boobies, Ty the Dude, Voodoo Vic, and Wakahula. Thank you all so much for your support over on patreon.com/FlipScreenGames. You're all the realest to the real, and we greatly appreciate your support of this and all of our sister shows. Speaking of, if you want to go check out our sister shows, the Flip Screen Games podcast or the Steam Deck podcast, you can go find links to those, all the ways that you can write into the show, show your support, or get involved, and much more over on flipscreen.games. However you choose to get involved and show your support. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nintendo Noise. Let's get back into it. We got a pretty big update to Nintendo Switch Online. Not necessarily in volume, but in quality, I would say. We got Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, Four Swords, which is, of course, both the Link to the Passport that came to Game Boy Advance and then, like, the original Four Swords adventure game, which is really cool. Metroid Zero Mission, which is the remake of the original Metroid that came to GBA. And then on the Nintendo 64 side of things, they announced a new like part of the expansion pack, which was like the 17 plus like M-rated games coming to the Nintendo 64 library, starting with Perfect Dark and Turok.
Ask your mum before you buy these games, everybody. Don't, if you're not 18, ask your parents first.
Go to your local GameStop, and then when they're like, hey, you got to be 18, be like, come on, and then they'll sell it to you anyway. That's how I would do it.
Yeah, there we go. Just tell Nintendo, come on. Yeah, come on, you know me. Or do what when I used to work with, someone came in and they showed me a tattoo of their son's birthday on their wrist, and I was like, I'm obviously 18, and I was like, that means nothing to me, man. Yeah. This is cool. I don't know why they're giving Link to the Past again when Link to the Past is already on the SNES one, and these aren't much different. But the Four Swords thing's cool. I think
it's just because they were a package title originally.
Yeah,
so it's like,
yeah.
Yeah, what are we gonna do?
Like having that. That's one of those things where you like never do it. You want to do it, but you never do it because you never get your friends together. You never have the cables. You never are able to link them up for 4 of you. Whereas now you don't have to, because now you just this thing.
NSO, baby.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Zero Mission? Are you a fan of that one?
I love Zero Mission. Yeah, I don't know why I thought this was already on here. When I saw it, I was like, oh, okay. I think they maybe showed it one time in like the here's all of the Game Boy games, and at some point there was a clip of Zero Mission. But I'm glad it's there because now, again, that's another Metroid game that you can play on Switch now, which is good. I think we're up to all of the mainline ones except for Samus Returns, but there is Metroid 2 on the Game Boy, and then it's just 2 more primes left, and we've got them all. That was so close.
So close, baby. So close. Just in time for the generation to end.
Yeah, just in time for it to move on to there being no Metroid games on the current Nintendo console again.
So we got to look at another new turn-based IP. This is Phantom Brave: The Lost Hero. You play Marona, who is like a young, I want to say witch, and her friend Ash gets like kidnapped by pirates, I think it was, and you got to go find her, and you have a bunch of like abilities to like basically do like different kind of like fusion powers to like unlock new abilities and stuff. And there was like fusing with like other companions, but then there was also like you can fuse like monsters together and stuff. Like, I don't know, it seems interesting though. Very cute art style. One I'm interested to see a little bit more of.
I'm good on this.
Yeah, I think you said turn-based and I switched off again because I was like, how many are we on now?
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of turn-based RPGs this time around. So this next one I was really excited about.
I was hyped for this.
Marvel vs. Capcom Collection, Arcade Classics. It's 7 games. It's basically every Marvel vs. Capcom title up to 3. So we've got like the original MVC, MVC2. There's I think it's called Children of the Atom, which is the X-Men one. I actually have an arcade cabinet behind me that has 4 of the games in this collection. So it's
shit.
Marvel superheroes, X-Men Children of the Atom, the Punisher side scroller, and then there's the 3 other Marvel vs. Capcom games, which is the original 2 and then the X-Men one. So yeah, I think that's our 6.
This is Capcom, right? Sorry, is it literally called Marvel vs. Capcom?
Marvel vs. Capcom collection. Yes, it's Capcom.
Fucking who am I? They do a great classic collection. Capcom. The Mega Man ones have all been good. The Castlevania ones have been good. They have the other stuff in there. They have the sort of visual improvements, sometimes visual improvements sometimes, and the Ace Attorney ones have also seemed pretty cool. Big up fucking Castlevania's Konami. I'm an idiot, but still. Good.
You did that recently, too. We were talking
I
Capcom,
know.
Right?
I'm a big fucking idiot, and I'm not shy about that. So
fair enough. At least you can own it. So speaking of things I want to own, Super Mario Party Jamboree was the next game that we got shown off. This one's coming out October 17th. Nintendo said it's the biggest Mario Party yet. It's got 5 new boards, 2 from the first 2 Mario Party games. And then it's got a new online mode that'll have up to 20 players competing. Pretty sick. This looks really fun.
Yeah, I was wondering what they're going to do after Superstars. Like, how are they going to differentiate the next title from that? And so the 20-player online thing is really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what that looks like.
Especially because Mario Party Online's pretty good. Like we've streamed that a couple times together, and like it always runs pretty solid. It's not really been too much of a problem for us. So I mean, we'll see how well it keeps up with 20 players. But yeah, if not, I mean that could be a really fun thing to do for streams or for like a party night or whatever, right, with a bunch of friends.
Remind me of Fall Guys a bit.
Sure.
Like
Totally.
where you have just a load of people and then you will get kicked out. And yeah, I'm interested in like how many Mario Party games have we had on the Switch now? I didn't realize this franchise was big enough to have like
3.
Yeah, that's a lot in 7 years,
it was
right?
Super Mario Party, Mario Party Superstars, and then this.
Yeah, hasn't there always been like a caveat? Like Super Mario Party, there's only 3 boards. Mario All Star, or whatever it was, Mario Party All Stars, there was something else. So yeah, this look, if it's the biggest one ever, and they're gonna sort of round off the Switch with a big one, that's pretty cool. But,
genuinely, my only beef with All Stars was that I just wanted it to have DLC. Like I wanted them to bring more boards and more games to it, and have it be like, here's all of the stuff from the classic ones that you remember in one package. Like that's my only gripe with that game, really. But yeah, I mean, this being like the first new one that actually looks good, because Super Mario Party just wasn't it, you know? There was not just the number of boards, but I think the changes they made to the economy and stuff, like it had a lot of little problems, even though it was fine, it was fun, but it wasn't a top 5 Mario Party game, and this one seems like it could be. So, fingers crossed. Okay, so now we get to the real hype shit. Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. What the fuck? So many things about
my
this are
God.
crazy. So, okay. Headline, obviously, first fully playable Nintendo game as Zelda, right? Obviously, that's the headline. I want to talk all about that in a second. I think the thing that I thought was really interesting too, though, is that it was in the Link's Awakening style, right? And it's like it's a Grezzo title, and I initially was like, oh, it's Oracle, right? It's going to be an Oracle remake. It's going to be
That's
another.
what I thought.
Really cool that they got to make an original game in this style after fucking nailing Link's Awakening, and that they're going to get to like take a huge swing like this. So cool.
I think they missed a trick on the name, and it should be called Legend of Link, because then you know, you playing a Zelda.
That would be cool.
Annoyingly, I called that with a Be a Playable Zelda last year in the predictions, so I've already missed out on this year.
You and Steve have had that happen multiple times, and it's so funny to me. Of just like, oh yeah, one year removed, and it's like you could have done the same ones 2 years in a row, but nobody wants to do that.
Yeah. This looks fun. This looks good. I think what I like about this is that it sort of has the old school 2D Zelda sort of like world design and stuff like that, but it's got the sort of creativity and the free formness of Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, where you're, you know, using physics, you're building things, you're sort of interacting with the world in whatever ways you can find. And I like that. I think they've taken they've sort of shrunk down, you know, the whole, oh, I'm just going to solve this problem by sticking loads of boxes and stuff together and making a machine that just falls down on stuff, and like that has this in a similar way. Whether it's going to be that complex, I don't know. There is a lot of just stacking beds to make stairs, but I'm sure we're just seeing the very first things, and that the player base are going to spend a huge chunk of time coming up with some incredible stuff. I'm really excited for this, and it's so soon as well, September.
Yeah, that's wild.
So excited!
I never would have expected that. It's just so delightful that I think they did the reveal, like the build up to the title screen really fucking well.
Yeah, reminded me of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I like moment by moment, I'm like, okay, the gem is cracked. Like, is she gonna break out, or is she just kind of stay there? But when she popped out, I was like, where is this going? And like, I feel like they know that the viewer is like waiting with bated breath to see like what the hell this is, because like the way that the spread of that dimensional like border like stops,
like puddle or whatever,
and you kind of hold your breath and you're like, okay, what is happening? And then cut to the Breath of the Wild style cliff shot. Like, that was just such a satisfying payoff. It was
so crazy.
Yeah. It's just, this is so stinking cute. I'm really excited.
I'm glad this ended up being that and not like the portal grabs her and then next thing they're in Fortnite or something like that, you know. Because that would have been a proper rug pull.
It's like it's very funny, because it wasn't until you mentioned the scene where he shoots the arrow and hits the like gem or whatever that she's trapped in. It wasn't until that moment where I was like, oh shit, you know, up until then I'm like, clearly this it's an Oracle of Ages thing, or it's like a sequel to Link's Awakening, you know, whatever, right? Like it's something like that, and then it's like, oh no, like, you know, this is a totally different beast. And then we actually have a question I want to get into. This one comes from Hankun27 over on our Discord, who said, having Zelda as the protagonist is awesome. I think the game looks great, but how do you feel about the combat mechanics of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom? Are you worried that combat is so different? That was actually the thing that I was most pleased about, because that was something I remember, you know, Steve and Max and I talked about when you did that prediction, Max, about like, oh, like there was all this conversation of like, will Zelda be playable in Tears of the Kingdom? And if she was playable, how would that work, right? Like, is it going to be that she's the main protagonist and Link isn't controllable at all? Is it going to be that, you know, she's a companion? Can you switch between them? Obviously, none of that ended up coming to pass. And one of the things that I remember kind of like saying at that time as like hey, like, why don't we temper our expectations? Because I think that's the loftiest thing we want is probably not going to happen, because how does Zelda have combat that's different than Link? Because I don't think they're going to just be like, Zelda's playable, she has the exact same skill set as Link. It's like, that would feel kind of cheap too, right? It'd just be like a palette swap. So the idea that like they're leaning into the whole like, you know, her Triforce is the Triforce of Wisdom, right? So it's like her like powers are like locked around like solving puzzles in novel ways and like being able to like use creative problem solving to like build a staircase or swim up through water or whatever, right? Like the little limited things that we saw. But I think just like seeing what they were starting to show with combat of like how you can like create traps and stuff, I was like, that's very interesting, and it's dynamic and different, and not just here's a top-down Legend of Zelda, but you play as Zelda. And not that I would like be complaining about that, but I think I like the idea of them like, you know, if we're gonna give Zelda her first outing as the lead character, I like the idea that it's like its own kind of game, at least to some degree, right? I'm sure it will have a lot in common with Zelda games past, but that, you know, the unique mechanic is like, well, you're not Link, so why would you solve problems the way that Link does? You know?
Yeah, why does she just pick up a sword when she's not a trained swordsman? You know, not that Link ever is, he's just a boy, but you know, he's
just a lad.
He's got magical destiny, though, right? Like that's
he does have
So, like, I appreciate that, actually. Like, you know, I think that, to me, like, gives this an opportunity to, you know, like, potentially be, like, its own thing, you know? Like, its own whole kind of Zelda game, where it's like, oh, yeah, like, you know, we get a 3D Zelda, we get the 2D Zeldas, and then you get the Zelda games where it's, you know, these, like, action puzzle games, you know? It's, like, very cool, because it's like all the combat's still happening in real time, but you can't just like put up a shield and swing a sword. It's like you're gonna have to like position yourself and think about, you know, things in a little bit more of a tactical way, and like that's, I think, very intriguing, and at least to my taste, very attractive for sure.
Absolutely.
I'm just glad that it exists at all.
Yeah, for sure.
And we don't have to wait 4 years for it after an initial announcement, you know?
I'm like really, really pleased that they are like keeping this like Link's Awakening style alive and not making it limited to just like remaking Game Boy games, because it's so cute. Like I love the little like, I don't know, like little doll designs that they all have. Like they're so adorable. Like I'm looking at the thumbnail, right, and it's like Link in the background with Ganon, and like he's got his little grouchy face, and it's just like, he looks so cute. It's like, you're not scary. Come on.
Interesting, we didn't get an amiibo with this. We got a Link amiibo with Link's Awakening. I mean, maybe this is sort of proving that amiibo are dead, maybe, but this seems like prime for a Toon or like a mini Zelda amiibo.
I don't know what to think of it, because like I remember thinking when Mario Wonder came out and there weren't any amiibo that was really weird, and it's like, shit, like maybe that is a bad sign. And they've been re-releasing amiibo like crazy, and like they're still selling, so it's like, I don't know, like they put out Xenoblade Chronicles 3 amiibo, right? Why?
That's true. That is true.
Why that and not this? But I will say, with Zelda, they do often announce amiibo later, right? Like the Tears of the Kingdom amiibo, we didn't see them until
that's true
later, and Ganondorf and Zelda didn't come out until the game was already out.
There's still hope.
So yeah, still hope.
There is still hope.
Because I would
for
really
us plastic
love to get
people
a Zelda in this style to put next to my Link in this style, but we'll see. I'll take a Ganon too, frankly, in his big piggy form. Love Piggy Ganon.
Yeah.
Love him.
Piggy Ganon.
So we also got a Nintendo Switch Lite that's coming out that same day, with the Zelda monogram on the back. We got a trailer for
nice to see a proper classic Zelda special edition, right? The DS, so the Game Boy Advance had one. It was the gold with the Triforce. The The Wii had one, the Wiimote, the Wii U went for like a black with a little bit of motif, and I was like, we're getting a bit far away from it here, boys. The Switch only had those Joy-Cons. Come on, guys. And then the Tears of the Kingdom one, like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
The pattern on the back, though. They did have that. That had the monogram.
This is
not as stylized as this, though.
This is it. This is the one.
So then we got a trailer for Just Dance 2025. We got the same trailer for Lego Horizon Adventures that they played at Game Fest a couple weeks ago. Or was that at the PlayStation event? I can't remember. No, Summer Game Fest.
It was Summer Game Fest, yeah.
Stray is coming to Nintendo Switch. Man, I wish I liked that
I know,
game
it feels
more.
late.
It does. And also, I just think that game is so, like, the idea is so much better than the execution. Like, it has a great art style. It has a lot of character, but it's just not very engaging to play. And the world is not... It's like it hints at more depth than it has, and it ends up feeling a little disappointing in that regard. It was a shame, for sure. It's one I wanted to love more than it let me. Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game, is a life sim that's set in the Shire. This is a game I'm, in theory, interested in as both a farming guy sometimes and a Lord of the Rings fan, but, like, man, that frame rate looked fucking rough. Yeah,
this is definitely a Steam Deck game. It looks good. It looks the kind of thing that I think Kat would enjoy, my girlfriend Kat would enjoy, and I think that I would be interested. I'm not a Lord of the Rings guy, but this looks adorable. I think it's got some nice features. Like, yeah, this looks cool. But definitely a Steam Deck game, not a Switch game.
Chugging.
A lot of the games, so many of the games they showed off in this, I thought were chugging. And I don't know if that's just the stream but like some of the stuff they show on Switch, I'm like, why would I get that you can't fake it and show PC footage, but man, like,
so maybe just hold this one. Maybe hold this one for the next console.
Yeah.
So we got a look at the Ace Attorney Investigations collection. This is 2 of the Ace Attorney spin-offs that are going to get combined into a new release. This one's coming on September 6th. That's pretty cool.
Another good Capcom collection.
Another classic Capcom collection. They nail those legacy collections for sure. So,
yeah.
And it does the thing I really like where they did it in a new style, but you can toggle to the old art style, which is, I love that. Always an easy W, I think, in a remake like that. So then we got to look at the 100-line Last Defense Academy. I got to be honest with you. I'm struggling to remember this one. Like, I remember the little monsters in it, but I don't remember what the game looked like moment to moment.
Picture now, like Persona meets Danganronpa.
Yes.
Meets,
okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Fire
there's
Emblem
cute
you're
guys.
At school.
Yeah.
No. Okay, thank you. That does, and this is from the makers of Danganronpa as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is like a really petty thing, but it is a thing that I remember people saying about Fire Emblem Engage, where it's like, why do all the characters look like VTubers? Like, why do their eyes look like that? It's not good. You know? It's like, it looks very like Uncanny Valley to me, and like it looks off. That doesn't mean anything about the quality of the game, right? Obviously, the Danganronpa team, very accomplished. I like the original Danganronpa quite a bit. We'll see. But, yeah.
What's the obsession with school? Like, what's the obsession with school in, like, anime and stuff like that?
Do you actually want to know? There's an answer.
Oh, yeah, please.
So, and I'm an American, so grain of salt. This is what I've read, right? But, the popular theory is that you know how in the West, a lot of stories that are about youth and like freedom and stuff like that are very centered around like college.
Yeah.
There is kind of a cultural difference in Japan where like high school is looked at as that last time of like freedom and, you know, like youthful, you know, like the world's ahead of you and you don't have to figure everything out. Whereas like by the time you're in college, that's kind of perceived as more the start of your professional career, and that there's a lot of
that's miserable.
You know, kind of like how your performance is in college has a lot to do with how employable you are and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So the idea of being like, you know, kind of like a fuck around partier in college is not really, you know, it's not as much a thing. So my understanding is that's why.
That's made me sad. that's the end, like, of their sort of like, woohoo, we're freedom is the end of high school. But in your defense, you didn't say I was going to like it, so
no,
let's move on.
As I
yeah. Digimon lore is completely built around this belief, like, because there's even like an OVA where like you will lose your Digimon because you're aging, and Digimon are tied to your youth and the innocence of that, and like the power behind that, and like the childlike wonder, and then it goes away, bye bye, and you lose your Digimon.
You become a salaryman at some shitty company, you know?
Because they've all got massive hair, goggles, cool shoes on, and whenever you see them as adults, they're like, I've dressed in Uniqlo basics now. I've been at job, and I'm wearing grey now, and it's cool that you get to enjoy the Digimon, but I now have suit on, so...
And like there's a lot of it's conflicting with like some lore where like they do get to keep the Digimon, but like overall like a lot of Digimon stories are built around like you're powerful because you're young.
Sorry, Max killed
Less
me.
of that. Oh. Sorry, man. Come back.
I'm back. Whew.
Cool.
If I go out, that's how I want it to be though, choking on Diet Coke with my friends.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So,
don't let me go peacefully on my deathbed. Just funnel a fucking 12-liter, 2-liter down my gullet. That's how I'm going.
And just pour it. And it's like,
yeah, boy.
See you on the other side.
Just wait until bubbles stop.
I want to drink so much McDonald's Sprite that I just explode like the frog or the bird in Shrek.
There you go. Very, very evocative. Okay. Then we got another classic JRPG getting remade, Romancing Saga 2, Revenge of the Seven. Another turn-based guy coming out October 24th. This is one that some of my, like, even dirtier than me JRPG friends, very excited about this one. So, I'm going to reserve judgment. I feel like the combat looked good, but there was some of the stuff around it felt a little slow, but... You know, that could be a way that they're positioning it because it's like more intended for people that are already in on it. So we'll see. Mm-hmm. All right, Max, you've been on the bench long enough. What do you got for me? Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, baby. 2025.
Boy, have I fucking been waiting for this.
Literally
7 years.
The first time that we've seen anything about this game since 2017 when it was revealed, except for when they said it was canceled and restarted. We've never seen footage, never seen as much as a fucking screenshot of this damn thing. You've had some time to process. What's up?
Yes. So, I just had as soon as I saw that green text start coming up, I was like, this is Metroid, but what Metroid is it going to be? And then when it had like the space year, I was like, I don't know, my space calendar's, out of date. I don't know what this means. But as soon as she landed in that sort of this Metroid Prime 3 shit with like the new red trim, I was like, here we go, baby, it's Metroid Prime 4. And like as we started into it, I was like, yeah, this looks like what I wanted it to look like. I wanted it to I'm tripping over my words with excitement. I wanted it to look like the Metroid Prime Remastered, just new. And they've done that. They've updated the designs of like the Space Pirates, and they've got, what seems like a very classic opening segment where the opening's more like, you're being funneled because the rest of the game then opens up. We're getting the Galactic Federation. We're getting like what seems to be an invading Space Pirate army, and also an invading Psylux, who, for those who don't know, was a minor villain in Metroid Prime Hunters, and then was right at the very end of Metroid Prime 3, which just when you think the trilogy's over and everything's over, Samus flies away, and then there's a familiar blue ship of Psylux following her. Metroid Prime Federation Force, the end of the game.
Metroid Prime 3 ends on a fucking cliffhanger?
Yeah,
that's insane.
Right, and I've been 2007, so that's been what? Do the maths on me. 17 years. Is that right? 17 years, maybe, give or take.
You keep talking. I'll do the math.
Yeah, 17 years. We've been sort of sitting like, well, what does that mean? And then they just you using a calculator.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
I don't do math. It's 18 years.
Okay, fine. 18 years.
Even worse. One more.
Nearly 20 years between them.
Nearly 20 years between
Kingdom Hearts 3 level nonsense.
Yep. And then I'm pretty sure when Metroid Prime 4 was first announced in 2017, again, that was like I was so overwhelmed that I just couldn't make any noises or anything like that. I had like, my friends were just like, are you okay, mate? And I was just like, my God. So I've just again been waiting sort of almost just as long for it. This looks good. This does exactly what I wanted to do. Silex. Oh, I wasn't finished with Silex. Silex was then in Federation Force that no one played or cared about. Right at the very end, he'd stolen a Metroid. We're seeing here that the part of this invasion is also Silex with this Metroid, and then it ends on like Samus, sort of what seems to be a cutscene where you first enter an area. Great big lush forest showing us this. Yeah, we're still going to have the same classic sort of big open areas, possibly multiple planets because this looks like two completely different planets. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm so glad this is happening. I'm so glad that it's a shame it's not this year, and I understand that they're maybe saving it for Switch 2 launch, or it just needs more time in the oven. But
I want to pick on that because that was something. So, like I said, I was watching this with a couple of friends like live, and everybody was so like, "Oh, what a great direct!" And then when this popped, there was a lot of disappointment because they were like, "Man,
really?
Why is there not a release date? Like, why even show it if you don't have a release date? Like, why have such a strong direct and not end on Zelda or one of these things that like is locked in?" Right? I was surprised. I was like, I'm really surprised that you all feel that way. Like,
oh my god, I didn't feel that way at all. I'm like, finally something.
I'm right there with you. And as soon as I kind of like, I was like, totally, I'm interested in why you guys feel that way. Like, what's the vibe? And I was kind of like trying to pick their brains, and I was like, well, I kind of interpreted that as like, I don't think it looked like it was running on Switch. I think it looked like it was running really smoothly. It looked like it was like 60 FPS. I feel like it is probably running on the Switch too, and it's probably either a exclusive launch title, and that's why they didn't give us a release date, or it's going to take the place of what Zelda's done traditionally the last like 3 console generations, where it's the last big game on Nintendo Switch and the first big game on Nintendo Switch 2. So to me, it's like, yeah, of course we didn't get a release date, right? This is the first time they've actually shown the fucking thing,
So on that, there is the trailer at the end has the Switch logo in the corner. It says Nintendo Switch on the YouTube channel. So I do think that whatever happens, this will be coming to Switch, whether it then also comes to Switch 2, or like you say, it's like the final release. But I mean, Metroid Samus Returns was a game that came out like 6 months after the Switch came out. It came out the August 2017. So it could even be that it's like the last hurrah, like you say, similar to Breath of the Wild, where it's like it sees out the Switch generation. But if it is supposed to come out with that, and the Switch 2 is supposed to be out in like Q1, Q2 of next year, cool, wicked. Like, bring me this game by sort of the beginning of next year. This year is looking so hot for me with Monster Hunter Wilds and other games I can't think of. This looks so good.
I'm glad it's not coming out this year, actually. I think if it was coming out this fall, it would just be like crowded.
Yeah. There's so much going on.
If it's coming out next year, like, I don't need a date like right now. I'm fine.
Yeah, just so it's coming. Like, even if they just like, they're not really going to be giving out like Q1, Q2, because like things maybe do change when you announce something like potentially a year in advance. So I can see maybe why they have just given the year, and I think it's safer to give a year when you have just a year as opposed to like trying to pigeonhole yourself in, because then you have to announce a delay instead of just saying it'll be out next year.
Especially when
and
they
you have
had
that wiggle room.
How embarrassed they were about the reveal and then reneging of that reveal this time around.
Yeah.
Like, one of my friends was like, "Oh, like I'm like worried because like they showed us this, but it's like, what if it doesn't even come out in 2025?" I was like, "Oh, it's coming out. There's no fucking way that they show this one too early." Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this game has been done for like 6 months. And they're just like, we're going to squash bugs until Nintendo Switch 2 reveal, right? Like, months ago now, but Sierra and I had an episode where we were talking about how, the word on the street was that Nintendo delayed the Switch 2's launch so that they could shore up more software for the release lineup. So I wouldn't be surprised if this game is already, like, totally feature complete and we're just polishing it until it's ready to go, right? We know that they've done that in the past, right? How long were they sitting on that Prime remaster before it finally came out?
Yeah, we heard rumors about that back when this was the Loot Pots. Back when this was the Potscast, we had rumors of Metroid Prime just they're sitting on it, they're waiting for it, and then there it is, and it came out in such a good state, and I hope that this probably does the same thing.
Think about it, right? When did they save it for? They saved it for a year where they didn't have a lot to put out in Q1, and it was huge. It was a huge release for them rather than, a minor release on a year where they were already settled. So it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case with this one, where it's like, hey, like, we really fumbled the bag, and we are really trying to make Metroid a thing. Dread was a huge success. Metroidvania is more popular as a genre than it's ever been. Like, this is their chance to come out and put out a blockbuster that, like, makes Metroid, sales-wise what it is legacy-wise, right? And it's the same thing that happened with Zelda, right? Like, we were talking a couple weeks ago about how it's like 60% of, like, all of the sales of Legend of Zelda titles are on the Nintendo Switch, just because of how popular Tears and Breath were. So, like, the idea that this game has the potential to kind of be that breakout hit and be the game that, like, makes everybody shut the fuck up and pay attention to Metroid is like, you got to get it right, and I don't think you show this trailer if you don't feel really confident that it's close.
Yeah, I think the thing that Dread had was that whether this is correct or not, but the idea of like a $60 2D game, $60 side scroller, which I understand why you'd come from that way, but I also know that the game was definitely worth that. I got my time out of it. A lot of care's gone into it. But to have the $60 first-person shooter Metroid game, that's a lot more appealing to a lot more people, I think. And I think we're going to see, hopefully this be the one that takes off, especially considering it might be, like you say, like the game people buy with their Switch 2. They might buy their Switch 2 and also pick this game up with it. And it's the Breath of the Wild, it's their, I want my Switch 2, so this is the game I'm going to play with it. And then they go, I like Metroid now, so I'm going to use the backwards compatibility of this to now go back and play Dread, play Metroid Prime 1, maybe 2 and 3 comes out in that time, you never know.
Can you imagine if we get a Metroid Switch? That would be so sick.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare. I keep thinking about the potential, like, collector's editions and things like that, and I know I'm going to be have sleepless nights over I can't miss it, because I missed all the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 stuff. I desperately want to just have everything to do with this, and I think the what I really want is a new Figma, but for this new Sylux model. The old Sylux model, the old design for Sylux on the 3DS, just the DS, it's a bit weird. It's a bit like, you can tell it's just a side character, and they've really refined it and tried to make him look more like a match for Samus this time, in terms of, like, it's a man in a suit, not just like a weird freaky alien. Very cool. Very cool. I'm so happy. I've been waiting so long for this.
Last question I guess I want to ask you before we put a pin on this one, because, we'll be talking about Metroid Prime 4 quite a bit in the weeks and months to come, I imagine. What was your read on the gameplay that we saw? Because I'm not a big Metroid guy, right? Like, I played Prime back in the day, but my brain was a little too young and smooth to get through it. I kind of got a little bit of like a Doom vibe at one point. There's like you walk into this room and you're like in this kind of big circular arena, and a door opens and all these enemies start pouring in, and Samus starts like moving and dodging and shooting. I was like, oh, like this feels a little bit akin to that arena shooter kind of vibe.
So there is actually a lot of that in Metroid Prime. There's like areas, especially when you're in like the space pirate areas, their bases. We will go into a room and then like the doors will lock and there'll be just a bunch of enemies to kill, and that very much does have that Doom feeling to it, of like I'm rummaging around. Sometimes I'm in the dark or whatever, and I'm just pummeling these enemies. And this that did feel like that sort of part of the game, but I also feel like this feels also like I said earlier, like an on-rails introduction to the game, where you're introduced to Sylux again. He's got the two Metroids or Moctroids, whatever they are, behind him. He steals something important maybe, and then you go off, and that's sort of the catalyst for the game. Samus loses her, steals all your stuff.
Nothing but your suit.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah, he steals all your stuff, and there's something about this logo that I think it looks a bit alien, a bit like, which I know Metroid is set in space and there's a lot of aliens, but like alien even for Metroid, in like it's what's the race from Mass Effect that has like a purpley, like smooth curved like thing to it? Am I thinking of Mass Effect?
Maybe.
Let's move on.
Okay.
But there's like a that sort of like curved. It seems like extraterrestrial, or like from like another world or another time or something like that. And I think that maybe that's going to play into it as well. I think if you follow me on Twitter and you're not a Metroid fan, it's probably worth muting me, because I'm going to get real annoying real quick about this game. So yeah, really really happy with this.
Yo, we're gonna have trouble keeping you off this podcast for the next couple months, I think.
There's anything new, I'll be there. I'm pretty sure I started getting involved in doing podcasts so I could talk about Metroid with people, and I've done a lot of that now.
Come full circle. Only took 10 years. Anyway.
Only took 10 years.
Thank you two for joining me here for this breakdown. Really exciting. I think overall, really good Nintendo Direct. I walked away with plenty of games I'm excited about. We got a real good idea of what the next 6 months look like on a Switch. We got some stuff to look forward to for next year. No complaints here.
Yeah, I'm very happy.
Really solid Direct. While there were a couple of oh no things, there's something for everyone, and that's sort of
something for everyone, like the Funko Pop game and Looney Tunes PS2 Sports Jam.
Let's cut it. Let's cut it
right there. Thanks for joining us here in another episode of Nintendo Noise. Remember, if you want to get involved, if you want to write in with your favorite announcements from today, or if you want to write in with a main topic for next week's show, you can do all that and much more over at flipscreen.games. Head over there, click on some stuff, however you choose to get involved and show your support. It helps us out a lot more than it costs you, and we appreciate you tuning in to another episode of Nintendo Noise. For the crew, I've been Pete, she's been Sierra, he's been Max. We'll see you next week.